There are multiple ways to get this product. So the typical and the one that we are focusing today is to download the installer from our website. Here you can find some installation tutorial. And of course, it's also possible to download some instruction manual and some installer guide. So if you scroll down here, you can find also some other packages. So for example, it's possible to download the previous version of the product to go directly to our GitHub repository. There is a page that you can reach directly by clicking here. You can find our official documentation that is always referring to the last version, the last released version. Here you can find a lot of useful things, like, for example, how to install manually Knowage, or maybe using also the installer, how to administrate Knowage. It's also possible to see a user guide, so a guide from the perspective of the final user, and there's also a functionalities overview. So of course, for timing, I have already downloaded it inside my PC. Okay, so I'm using this file. So just before beginning, I want to recap some useful thing about the installation. Supported operating system, as I said before, are Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Okay. Memory that we recommend to have on the target system, at least 3 GB of RAM, and of course, as a disk space, to have at least 2 GB of free hard disk space. In our cases, a database is not required because we will use the embedded one, that is MariaDB, and we use an application server that in our case is Tomcat, that is also included directly in the installer. Of course, if you have any problem or question, you can go to this URL where you can find the installer step-by-step documentation. The first thing to do in the installation, so the first thing also before downloading the installer is to follow these steps. So you have to download and install the Oracle JDK 1.8. Okay, so it's important to use this particular version because we are supporting this version of Oracle Java Development Kit. To have some new information, we can go back to our website here. So for example, if you click on the link here, you can directly go to the Oracle website and you can download the Java Development Kit, okay, 1.8. And of course, there is an instruction manual that will help you follow the installation process. Okay, so after you have downloaded the JDK and installed with the automatically installer, it will install your JDK inside a position. So for example, like this one. Okay. After that, you have to configure your system to point using some environment variables to that particular JDK that you have installed. To do this, you have to go to the system, advanced system settings and environment variables, or otherwise it's also possible to go in the run menu of Windows and just write env. Okay, pressing enter, it will open a window like this one, and you have to go in the system variables and configure 2 new system variables. So exactly, you have to define the Java home variable that it must contain the path to the JDK installation directory. So in my case, I have this one. Okay, so I've installed the JDK in this particular path, Java home. And another important thing is that you have to edit the path variable system that you probably already have on your PC, and put as a first entry this string that we can see also here, that is %Java home %/bin. So in this way, you're saying to your Windows system to point to that particular JDK and use it for running Java application. To be sure that you have correctly installed your JDK, you can just do one thing. So you can open cmd, so the prompt, the shell of Windows, and just write Java -version. If you have correctly installed Java on your system, it will respond with this kind of answer. So you will see the version of the JDK installed, and also these other strings. So this is the way to check that you have correctly installed the JDK on your system that you are planning to use for the installation. But of course, as I already told you, all these steps are detailed inside this PDF that you can find in our website. Okay, so we have done it, and now we can start by installing Knowage directly by clicking on the installer. Okay, let me just find the slide. So we installed the Oracle JDK, we added the environment variable, so Java home and the path. Then we tested with the Java -version, and now we can run the installer. So let's run it. I will open my folder. Okay, execute. Now the installer is extracting the files. Now we have the first step to when you open the installer. So you just have to go next. Here there is a little documentation about some steps, some requirements, some client-side requirements, how to use a browser that supports JavaScript, of course, how to manage the Knowage, so after you have installed, how you can start and stop Knowage, but we will focus on it before, but you can, of course, have a read when you are planning to install Knowage. So let's click on next. You have to accept the license. Okay, so this is one of the important steps that you have to see. So you can choose to use two different libraries for charts, okay, that we use inside Knowage. So typically, these are the two options. You can use chart.js, that is a completely free and open source charting library that uses a MIT license. This is also freely available, or otherwise you can use iChart.js. That is also the charting library that we offer in the Enterprise Edition. For evaluation purpose, you can just choose to use iChart, okay? But remember that if you're planning to use iChart inside some real project, you need to buy a license in order to be enabled to use it in your real project. Of course, remember that if you buy the Enterprise Edition of Knowage, also the license of iChart is included in the price. Okay. Third thing to choose here is if you want to install Knowage with some demo content. Okay, so this is useful when you're planning to just evaluate Knowage. You want to see some pre-built example to see what are the possibilities to do. Otherwise, it's also possible to install a barebone to create a barebone installation, so without any demo documents. But today we will try to use the demo documents to install also the demo documents, because I want to show you some example. So let's click on next. Here there are the different modules that are installed. As I said before, the community edition includes all the community edition modules, all the different modules. Let's click next. Here, one important thing: where do you want to install Knowage? So it is important to install Knowage in an already existing directory on your system. Okay, so for example, I've created a directory called Knowage Essential Training. Okay. Also, just one reminder, because some people try to install Knowage inside some system directory. Be sure that if you want to plan to install Knowage inside some program files or other system directory of Windows, that you have the rights to do it. Otherwise, in some cases, we had problem about user because they try to install Knowage in some system directory, but then they don't have all the rights to run some files, some of the server from that path. So I recommend not to use system directory, but maybe create a new directory where you are sure to have all the full rights to run the server. Okay, of course, Knowage the installer will create some subdirectory inside the path that you have specified here. Second thing, the host tool. So this is the way how you will reach the Knowage the Knowage platform after you have installed it. So by default, you will just use localhost because you are planning just to evaluate for yourself inside your personal computer. Otherwise, it's also possible to change this parameter and use an IP, so a public IP address, if you want to share this installation with some other person using internet. Of course, you can start by using this host tool, but in a second moment, it's also possible to change this host tool that you can use to access the platform. But for the moment, I will just use the default setting. Okay, so now I'm clicking on next. Okay, so now the installer asks me another thing. I want to use an embedded version of MariaDB, so will include also the MariaDB database in an embedded form, so I don't have to install I don't have to install a separate database to store the metadata information of Knowage. Or otherwise, it's also possible to specify an already installed DBMS. So for example, if in my system I'm already installed MySQL, for example, I can use that MySQL installation to store the Knowage information. And you can, of course, you need to specify the URL to connect to that particular database, and you have to put the username and password. Of course, please pay attention that if you choose this kind of installation using a separate DBMS, this will create two new schemas inside your database. So one schema called Knowage Demo, okay, and another schema that is called Format Demo. The Knowage Demo is the metadata used by the Knowage installation. The Format Demo is a sample database including fake data to just make some example queries that we are using in our demo documents. But in our cases, I don't want to install other database system, so I will use the embedded version, and this is very simple to use, and it doesn't require me to configure any other database. So let's click on next. Okay, now the installer is extracting the files. So then after the extraction, it will start to install the files on that specified path. Okay, now it's copying the resources. Now it's extracting some other files. Okay, now the installation is completed. Okay, so here you can see there are some information on how to start the system, stop the system, where you can access Knowage. So you can directly copy to the clipboard the URL that you need to use and put in your browser to run to access Knowage. These are the default credentials that are available in Knowage. So demo_admin and demo_user. In this case, because these are default user, the password is equivalent to the username. Okay, but of course, I don't recommend to use this kind of default user if you are planning to use this system for production. So you can create some new user. Then it's possible to create some start menu entry, some desktop links to directly start on desktop your Knowage environment. And of course, it's also possible to directly start Knowage from this setup. But I will not select it because I want to show you the content of the installation directory. Okay, so let's close this one. Okay, so it's finished. I want to go to my installation directory. As you can see, this is the path that I've specified before. So we have three directories. One is Knowage Server CE Community Edition that includes, of course, the Tomcat application server, where you have, for example, bin includes the files that you need to launch for running the system. So to launch Knowage, you have to go here and run knowage_startup.bat if you are using Windows, like in our cases. Or if you are in a Linux environment, you can just run knowage_startup.sh. To shut down Knowage, you can just run the Knowage shutdown bat file, and equivalent for Linux, Knowage shutdown sh. Here there is the MariaDB embedded database, and here there is the Solar system. Okay, so you can also run and start. I will start by using the Knowage startup. Okay, this will open this window that is starting some other window, like for example, this one is the Tomcat window that is running the server. Okay, but you also have a MariaDB window. So this is running the embedded database. And you also have a Solar window that is running the Solar system. Okay, so if everything is working, you have to see these three windows: Tomcat, MariaDB, and Solar. Of course, this is referring to our demo environment. Normally, you will probably see, if you install Knowage manually, you will see only the Tomcat window, because maybe you're running using an external database. Okay, at the moment Knowage is extracting and extracting the file from the single WAR files for each single engine. The first time it probably takes more time because they need to be extracted, but the second time you will run the system, it will run faster. Okay, so when Knowage has finished to do the first extraction and has finished to start up, you will see this string server startup. Okay, so now we are ready to access our Knowage server. So localhost 8080/Knowage. Okay, so if everything was, the installation was correct, you will see this login page, okay, where you can put your credentials. So for example, let's try to use the demo_admin. So now I'm entering as an admin, so the administrator of the system has more functionalities in the menu. So to open the menu, you have just to go here, click on menu, and you can find some different functionality, different parts of the administration.